I spent most of my Saturday doing Dynasty Mode, and there's a lot to get into. You already know a lot of the basics. You pick what kind of coach you want to be, various skills and whatnot. That, to me, didn't play much of a difference. I know they've got skill points and there's different things you can do. I didn't notice anything that big of a deal with it. But I always start a Dynasty Mode with a 2-star program or below. So I went with USF because I figured high upside, love the quarterback, good recruiting background. And I got through like 3.5 seasons by the time we are recording this. I didn't play the games, I just simulated the games. And again, there's really like so many options here. You can have the computer auto do the recruiting if you want to. You can do the actual recruiting if you want to. But this is another game mode that I just got completely sucked into. I cannot give enough praise for what they've done with Dynasty. It feels like the right balance of casual stuff. You can move through it quickly if you want to, or you can take your time and really get into the individual things. So I was USF for 3 years. I simmed the games. My team didn't really get much better or worse each year. We were about an 80 overall each year. Went around 6-6, 7-5 every year, even though I was recruiting the best group of 5 class, or one of the best group of 5 classes in each game. There's custom conferences you can do. You can do them after every season. Ari, did you get much into Dynasty Mode? And if so, what do you think early impressions?
So I think that it was a good point that you made at the beginning of the show of like, this game can be whatever you want it to be. And it's kind of like Vegas. If you want to go to a nightclub, you can go to a nightclub. If you want to go to a spa, you can go to a spa. Nice dinner. Chipotle. So my background in this game, before we get into this, has always just been, I like playing against people, like online. Like, I am more of the best part of the game is playing the game. And I didn't love living in the menus. But I will say that I did go through Dynasty Mode, Chris, and I picked Memphis because I love their helmets. And I went through and I tried really, really hard to recruit really good players. Like, my board was all like 4-star and 3-star players. And even though a lot of like, they tell you like what's important to the player, what the player won't get over, and all these different types of things to help educate you in terms of who to add to your recruiting board. And I kind of ignored some of those because I was like, I'm gonna get these guys anyway. And let me tell you, you don't. Okay, like you really do. You really do have to stay within yourself. So I do think that obviously, if you're one of the people who does a dynasty and you pick Memphis or USF or someone else and you play, you could still win a national championship because you're just better at the game than the computer. But if you're one of these people from a data standpoint who just likes to live in the menus and likes to recruit players and win Heismans and do all those things, that if you do pick a group of 5 team, it's going to be incredibly more difficult or impossible, from what I understand, in this game than it would have been in previous iterations of the game. So
yeah, I had a couple spots with this. So when you go into recruiting, it's nice. The game gives you like a recommended part on the drop down menu to like let you know who you can realistically get. And I had some 4-star players on there, and some of them had me at number 1. But every single year, I'd go heavy on them. And as the weeks went on, the Power 5 schools started rising up and took the player. I never got a blue chip prospect when I was at USF. Now that's probably partly because I was 6-6, 7-5 pretty much every year. But like back in the old days when like me and my old like hockey teammates used to play, I had a buddy named Steve. He would always pick Eastern Michigan, and he would run the ball like 80-90% of the time when we would simulate games. And so then the second year, he could always recruit like a 5-star running back because they wanted to play for a team that ran the ball a lot. That's not the case anymore. You can't really get away with that. And actually, one of the YouTubers, Not the Expert, posted that there is going to be some sort of recruiting update within one of the first game patches, because I think he got a 5-star at a not good school. I'm not sure how he did. But overall, it is very, very difficult to just recruit well to make your team better. Again, I recruited one of the best group of 5 classes every year. My team only got incrementally better. You're going to have to play the games if you want to really improve that. And I know a lot of people do. It's just not what I did because I was trying to get through a lot of seasons to do that. We're in an interesting spot here because you're the recruiting guy. You love recruiting, like in real life. You love recruiting. I don't care for it that much. But in the game, I really like doing the recruiting, and you're kind of just want to play the games. Did you get a chance at all when you were trying to recruit? What did you think of the format, which you actually kind of briefly consulted on and helped with as well?
Yeah, so I'm out of the window of being sued here, I think, because everyone's seen it now. But like I saw these menus like 18 months ago. So like when I was going through them, like this is not new to me. But I did want to go through the recruiting mechanism with Memphis as I was doing it because I wanted to try to experience it. And the thing that I love the most, and I think it was a really important point of emphasis in them making it, was that they wanted it to feel real. Now, getting kids on campus was, I thought, a little bit easier than it might be otherwise earlier on in the process. But as you progress week to week, the guys on my board started to fade away. So you have to do this very consciously. And I think that like if you get into year 10 and you win a lot while you're playing the game, then maybe that transforms, and that's the point of this. But like I was only in the first year and two. And the thing that I think they did a very good job of, Chris, was just making the experience feel real. And you almost get disappointed the way that maybe a real coach would when they put a lot of time into a kid and then, you know, somebody in the Power 5 comes along and takes them. So what was important to the players, I thought was important to isolate, you know, when it came to playing time, when it came to development and close to home and all those things. Those are all very real. And then instead of having NIL in the game, Chris, they replaced it with like marketability and brand, because like that usually lends to being paid more. I wonder if they will add NIL into future versions of the game, but I didn't think they wanted to do that right away, especially considering the fact that it's not actually legal for schools to be paying players. I thought it was incredibly real, and like I found myself like paying attention, like when I was putting my board together, like where are they located? I'm in Memphis, so this kid's in Mississippi. He wants to stay close to home. Is it worth my time? Like that to me is the fun stuff when it comes to real life recruiting, and that's in the game. Like, Texas A&M is taking a bunch of Southern California kids out of USC. I'm sure Antonio Morales is going to write about that if he hasn't already. But like the strategy behind that is, do they perceive USC being down? Can you get somebody to Texas? Is it too far away from home? Is our brand in NIL big enough? Like all those things that I'm sure A&M had to actually weigh in real life is actually something that you have to weigh when you decide how you want to spend your time in the game. And I thought that was great. And if they're trying to be realistic about it, I thought that the experience mirrored. I found myself considering real life recruiting thoughts when deciding how to put my board together. Yeah.
So like what you do is you have somewhere between 300 and 600 hours every given week to hand out to put into players. It's 5 hours to search their social media, which you don't actually see anything. You just click it. You don't see anything. You can DM a recruit. That's 10 hours. You can talk to their friends and family. That's 25. A visit is 40. You can also make a pitch when you get to a certain point. Each recruit goes through a process. They're open, or they're top 10, top 8, top 5, top 3, and then they commit. So it's always a progression of things, and you want to stay above the cut. If you don't make the top 3, the top 5, you can't recruit him anymore. Done. You're done. So you have to kind of value where you're going to go. If you put it onto a 5-star guy and you're not getting any closer, you're going to need to pull those hours back. But my favorite part of recruiting is that it carries over week to week. If you put 40 hours on a guy and then you go to the next week and he's still on it and he hasn't changed, you already have 40 hours committed to him. These are all active things that you're doing with the recruit other than the visit. So you don't have to put in 300 to 600 hours every single week. It allows you to get through recruiting quicker, but in a way that is still very realistic. And I thought they really found a good balance there, because I'm someone who, like in the past, there'd be games where recruiting was too much. It was too much time week to week, and I wanted to get through seasons. I feel like they really found a good middle level here. I haven't done a dynasty as a big program, so I haven't recruited 5-star guys and know how that goes yet. But I thought recruiting was great. The rest of Dynasty Mode is also really fun. You've got the playoff at the end of the year. It's fun to see who makes the playoff. Dylan Gabriel won the Heisman in my first year. Actually, in my second year, believe it or not, Charlotte quarterback Max Brown won the Heisman in year 2. So if you remember the old games where random teams or players would be really good, apparently that still pops up in this game from time to time, which is okay with me. I don't want it to be the same ones every time. I think in year 3, Jacksonville State was the 3 seed in the playoff. They were like ranked like 11th overall, but they were the 3 seed because of how the bracket works and the automatic buys and all that stuff. I fired my coaches after 2 years because we weren't doing well enough. I hired new guys. When you build your coach, you can select your hometown and your alma mater, and your hometown becomes a pipeline for recruiting, or your home state becomes a pipeline for recruiting. So I was down at USF, but Michigan was still a pipeline for me. And also after each year, Michigan State offered me a coordinator job because that was my alma mater. So like the game like recognizes a lot of these little things, and you can get through it pretty quickly. The transfer portal, it's just like recruiting, happens after the bowl games, after you lose guys. And similarly, you can't just get a 5-star transfer because you're a group of 5 program. Like there's a limit on who's actually interested in you. So it was all realistic.
Which is kind of, I would change that.
Yes.
Because that's the way that group of 5 programs do get 5 stars. So
right.
like that,
former 5
that
stars.
is, former 5 stars. So, I have to go into it a lot deeper. You went deeper than me, but like if a 5-star player goes to a team and it sims through and they had an underwhelming season, but they have potential, like USF should be in the mix for somebody like that, especially if they're from Florida.
Yeah. Interestingly, Caleb Downs transferred out of Ohio State after my first season. So
where did he go?
I didn't see where he went.
Georgia?
I didn't follow where he went. I don't know, but that would have been funny. So that was fun. You can do online dynasties with up to 32 people, I think they said. You can go 30 years. You can do
that was the hardest thing for me, Chris, because the online component is was so much a part of my experience. Like playing the game and then like the servers not being up yet was like kind of a bummer for me. Now I understand obviously the game's not out. Why would the servers be up? But like I cannot wait till Monday night so that like I can start really like playing the game the way that I look forward to playing it too. And
you and I need to play each other still.
Yeah, we need to play each other. We have to figure out the cross-platform thing still, but we'll get it. We'll get it all squared away.
Yeah, actually, let's throw that out. My Xbox gamer tag, or my EA gamer tag through Xbox, is Stone Cold CV. Ari, I think you gave yours on the last pod, but give it again here.
User pick 45 USERPIK 45, and that was the name that I created when I was in high school.
And you were on PlayStation 5, so we haven't yet figured out how to cross-play each other yet. We will at some point, but if folks are listening, want to add us, we'd love to play people as this goes on. We're going to try to maybe create a league or something, or just broadcast or Twitch or something. We'll have more kind of as the podcast goes on.